The Lookalikes are probably the best-known Irish band never to make it big internationally, having had 2 #1 singles in Ireland when they were at their peak in the late 70s and early 80s. The band enjoyed highs, including touring with Thin Lizzy on their European tour in 1982.
This year marks the, wait for it, 30th anniversary since the band's first coming together, and they're back later this month for a once-off reunion concert in Dublin, in the Button Factory, in fact. Sean O'Connor and Eamon Doyle from the Lookalikes, the original lineup of the Lookalikes, join us now. Good morning, lads.
Morning, gents.
Again, we're actually catching up a bit because Eamon and I had a connection through another band because you replaced Christy Dignam in Aslan and became the Stone. What do they call themselves there?
What, with Aslan?
Aslan,
we were still called Aslan.
Yeah. And there was another name as well. That there was a kind of a working title as well.
I remember the
relaunch of it was in the Locomotive in Paris.
That's right.
Where Ian and I brought everybody over. And we had a wonderful weekend.
That was great, yeah.
We won't talk any more about that.
What happens on tour stays on tour.
Oh, yes.
Morning, lads. Well, if you were big in the 80s, it seems you have to do a reunion now. That's the vibe, no matter who you are or what the gig is. Why did you decide to do the reunion?
Well, we decided to do a reunion many years ago, but just the logistics of different people being in different places, it wasn't possible, and we were getting inundated with emails and people saying, where can you get the records and where can you is there any chance of getting back together and all the rest of it, and we talked about it, and as I say, finally it came to fruition where everybody was available at the same time in the same place,
It was actually around the time that the Lookalikes were appearing to be the next big thing. It was a very interesting time in Dublin because, of course, you two had broken through, and then you had this whole Liffey Beat thing that was going on, and Ireland was crawling with A&R men, but Dublin in particular, and any band that looked like it had any possibility was getting signed. But there were there was a handful of bands that people thought they have all the ingredients. Aslan was one, obviously the Hot House Flowers was one, Cactus World News. You were one. Now, you were unquestionably one of the prettiest bands that we produced. You were very good looking. It was very polished, and it looked like all the boxes were ticked for success. Good records, good tunes, good musicians. Can sing, looked good, should go far. You were signed to Riva, which is Rod Stewart's label, and there was a huge amount of money put into that. So I suppose the question is, what happened? Where did it go wrong, or what didn't go right?
Well, in hindsight, which is always 2020, the signing with Riva was a bit of a mistake for us. The reason why we signed with them, because they were a very small label, so we said, well, they'll have time to devote to us. And they were a very wealthy label because the only other 2 acts were John Cougar and Rod Stewart, But having said that, they were kind of almost distant from the music business, if you understand. Like, I've heard stories about Billy Gaff saying this, that and the other about how he came over to sign the Lookalikes. Billy Gaff never came to Dublin to sign the Lookalikes. He sent the T-boy over, The managing director of Riva actually signed us, and himself and Billy Gaff fell out. So that's actually what happened. That's the truth of what happened. They fell out. Billy Gaff didn't want to know because the other guy had signed us, and
So you were a victim of the industry.
Yeah, and another thing that happened was our first single, Can I Take You Home Tonight, was literally flying up the charts, and there was a programme, I think the programme was called Horizon, on TV, which exposed hyping in the music industry, which was rampant.
But it was commonplace.
Yeah, of course it was.
And the actual company that they picked to do the programme about was Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers distribute Riva. So the record was pulled, as were, people like Elvis Costello and people that would have definitely been in the top 10. The records were just gone, disappeared, And we had the guy, his name was Mike Mansfield. I don't know if you remember, he used to do Q Camera 4, he had that programme on. He came along, he said the record is at 70 this week, it's going to be top 30 next week, and we were talking about doing the video for it, So
do you feel like you were cheated?
Well, we weren't happy about it, but to say that we were cheated, I wouldn't say we were cheated. We were a victim of circumstances more than cheated, because it happened to loads of people.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, for us at the start of our career,
era, Sean, who by virtue of their experience, left the business. They have nothing to do with music at all now anymore. That it did leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, you're still at it, and you're still going. You're going to do the Button Factory, so all the beautiful people from the 80s can come out and see you again, relive their past, bring their kids with them, and say, listen, This is what it was really like. Here's some real music. So would you give people a little blast of what they can expect, or maybe what indeed
Can
they
I just
remember?
tell you that I'd like to mention, because a lot of people have asked me about where to get tickets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to get tickets at this stage, if you haven't planned on just arriving at the door, the website is www.tickets.ie.
Okay, we've got it up there, Sean. It's on the website. It's on the
Couldn't
screen.
care less.
There you go. Give us a blast, lads.